Hey y'all, it's Debbie, your girl with pearls. And my inspiration today came from Tracy over at Country Charm, and I'll link her video below. When I saw her tutorial using Dollar Tree pumpkins, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to make these. These are adorable. So you're going to see I made quite a few. The pumpkins came from Dollar Tree, as I said, and the scrapbook paper I got at Hobby Lobby, and they had a big sale, 4 sheets for $1. And then my ribbons came from Dollar Tree, $1 a roll, as well as the metal letters that said Harvest, Blessed, and Welcome. I'll start out the video showing you 2 of my favorite ones that I made. The buffalo check I love. And this one is so cute too, kind of a shiplap with a black and white stripe. And I love the contrast of these two as well. And I also made these little pumpkins reversible. So I'm going to leave the words on one side, but the opposite side I'm going to put the paper on. So I have options. One of them has a Thanksgiving blessing, so I can still use the pumpkin through September and October, and then turn it around in November for Thanksgiving. So I loved that idea. So basically what I'm doing is just spreading Mod Podge on the back of the paper and also on the pumpkin itself. And I used the back of the pumpkin, as I said, so it would be reversible. So make sure you get the edges good. And I'm going to use a kitchen scraper. That's what that is. And I'm just going to rub it over the paper to make sure I get any gobs of glue or bubbles smoothed out. Now after letting it completely dry, I cut out around the edges to remove the excess. And then to seal them, I used Mod Podge, and I went over the top of the scrapbook paper to seal them in. Now I used a matte Mod Podge, and I like it much better than the gloss. So be aware of that when you're purchasing. And it was a simple, quick, easy project. And here's a close-up. Look at how adorable they came out. Okay, now for the bigger pumpkins, I used the large Thankful and Blessed, and I used the back side of it. I did take it out in the garage and sand off all the sparkles on the back side of it. Putting it away and storing it to the next season, I just didn't want my tub filled with all those sparkles. And I'm just going to remove the embellishments and get it ready to Mod Podge. Now here are the other pumpkins that I used, and there were 4 different size pumpkins, and I just pulled the burlap sayings off of the smaller 2. And the larger one had that blackboard on it. And I just used the reverse side of that one. But these ones, they took a little bit of tugging and pulling, but I pulled off the burlap, and I also did sand them off because there were sparkles everywhere. And I learned a lesson that I'm going to share with you. I adhered the paper, the scrapbook paper, to the back side of one of the pumpkins that still had the label on it, and when it dried, you could see the square label through the paper. So don't make that mistake. I ended up tearing it off and using the other side, but just an FYI for you. Lesson learned for me. Okay, so I'm just going to trace out the shape of my pumpkin so that I can cut it out. I'm going to adhere it with Mod Podge, and then I'm going to go over the top of the paper to seal it with another coat of Mod Podge. And once it was dry, I started to embellish it. Now this is just a chopstick and I'm using a coated brown wire for my tendrils and I'm just wrapping it around and pulling it off. I love embellishments. I saved some of those metal, or they looked like galvanized leaves that I pulled off of some of those pumpkins, and I reused them. And I also bought at the Dollar Tree the burlap leaves, and I used some of those. And you can see them up there on the left. And I had a package of fall leaves that I use year to year. I just save in a baggie, and I use some of the smaller ones as embellishments. I also used one of the plain beige burlap leaves for my stems. And now I'm just choosing which ribbons I want to use. This is the fun part. I love coordinating. I love orange and blacks together. And I use the chopstick to hold the whatever embellishment I'm using so I don't burn my fingers. Now I'm going to glue down the tendrils. And then that's that little faux galvanized leaf that I pulled off of one of the pumpkins. And I'm going to make my bows. And add those on. Same thing, I'm using my little chopstick to adhere the bow to the hot glue. This is such an easy project, so if you're not somebody that does a lot of crafting, this is definitely a great beginner's project. Simple, and you'll be happy with the outcome because it just came out so adorable. I saved the stands from the smaller pumpkins, and I ran a little bead of Gorilla Glue. The hot glue didn't work on one of the other ones, so I decided to use the Gorilla Glue for the rest of the ones that I was going to make. And there you have it. Look at how adorable that came out. Okay, so here's the next one I'm doing. And I just mixed a little brown paint with some water. And to give it a more realistic look, I'm just going to go around the edges of the burlap stem, just to add dimension to it. I think it just makes it look more realistic. There, I'm happy with that. Okay, now I'm going to embellish this one. And this one I'm making more farmhouse. I'm using the faux galvanized leaves on both of them and the tendrils. And I'm going to stick with burlap and raffia to keep it more farmhouse looking. I did add, I can't help not adding my dots. I love polka dots. So I had a ribbon that has almost like a burlap beige color with white polka dots. And I'm going to use that just for dimension, just to keep your eye intrigued, if you will. So I'm just gluing down that burlap leaf, and then I'm going to glue down my bow. This is going to be cute. Now I'm adding raffia over the top of that. And I think that kind of gives it the farmhouse look as well. And I'm just layering and layering and layering. The more layers you do, the more dimension it gives it. Alrighty, and now work on the bottom one. These were very inexpensive to make. $1 for the pumpkin. Hobby Lobby had the scrapbook paper on sale, 4 for $1. And then my ribbon was $1 a roll at the Dollar Tree. And gosh, I only used a little bit of each roll of ribbons, so very inexpensive to make. I think they look really high end. You know, if you went to one of the decor shops, I bet you'd pay a good $20 to $30 for something like this. If you wanted to do a booth at a fall festival, you could definitely make some extra money doing something like this. This one I used just the burlap. I didn't use the polka dot ribbon, and I used the raffia. Here's a close-up look of the ones I made. This is the Farmhouse one. I love the chevron with the polka dots. And I did 2 different types of buffalo plaid. I love the buffalo plaid with the orange polka dot. It really pops the color. And then the shiplap with the stripe. So cute. And then these two, the polka dots and the stripes. Well, I'm so glad you could join me today, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I sure enjoyed this project, and I hope you'll consider taking on a project like this. I think you'll be happy with the outcome. It's very cost effective, and it's very simple to do. And if you enjoy videos like this, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Come back and see me again.